Hey, so do you remember that one time I got rid of X and decided to make an overly dramatic series about it? Well, yeah, about that, it's been a while. So let me just remind you that it took me entire 2 episodes to one-shot Zealots. If you don't play Skyblock, it means I'm like a baby taking their first steps. Except that line doesn't really work here. Basically, you can say I didn't even start yet, and if I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think past this point. Well, I mean, my plan was simple, to beat Necron, the ultimate boss of Skyblock solo. It's just that I realized it may be a lot more impossible than I originally anticipated, so... Not only Necron fight is quite hard by itself, often even for a full team of fully lagged people, the entire process of preparing myself to do the same thing but solo, and without legs. I would have to do also without legs, but if that wasn't enough, the funniest part is that half of the Necron fight is basically one giant parkour map, while either being shot by like everything, or while being chased by literally a death barrier. And to put that into perspective, currently I'm at the point of struggling to climb up a stairs, and I wish that was just a comical exaggeration. It really isn't, but that's fine. No, it wasn't. In fact, I was seriously considering to just move on, like, what do you want from me at this point? Establish different god that is actually possible? Yeah. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard, and so clearly out of options, I just moved on. But that was until the other day, as I was just chilling next to the bazaar when out of nowhere my totally secret account got recognized by a few people. It was probably the last thing I was expecting at this moment, but it was nice. We had a lovely talk, and they started bullying me for not having legs. Imagine not having legs. Okay, well, imagine laughing at the man without legs. I didn't actually say that, but my pride was hurt, and the only thing in my mind at this point was to prove that I never needed them in the first place by outtrying them using just a fishing rod. Yeah. I'm not sure if any one of you were expecting to be possible to outrun someone using a fishing rod, but I couldn't. Which meant that I no longer was being laughed at. People were starting to feel pity for me, which is way worse. And it's in the moments like this when your brain suddenly starts bringing unreasonable momentary commitments with a few simple words. I will show them. Well, I mean, looking purely from the statistical stand of the point, I'm not gonna show them, but I just couldn't leave this that way, just look at them using their fancy legs feeling superior to the person that lost their legs in an unfortunate event of coming up with a video idea. I can't go out like this. And little did they know, I already sold the stuff I used to one-shot Zealots, which means I had some money. And I hate to break it to you, but you don't need legs when you have money. My first thought aspect of the end, a sort of an ability to teleport me 8 blocks ahead, and just like that I was gone. Well, not very far gone, but fair enough to lose them. I'm gonna take this as a draw. Except I'm not interested in a draw. And yeah, maybe it wasn't a good day for me, but it was a day I knew what I had to do. Priorities. First, unlimited movement. You see, most of the abilities requires mana, which is directly correlated with your intelligence, which is weird. I always thought the more intelligent are you, the less you believe in magic, but I really didn't have time to question it at that moment. The only thing I needed to know is that I need to get smart. I need to get smart fast. And well, there are two main ways to gain intelligence. One is to buy equipment, second is to level up your skills. Both of them requires money, and as it happens, I just made the very rational decision to spend all my money onto escaping from my files, which put me at exactly rock bottom once again. But hey, everyone starts somewhere, and Hypixel's idea is for you to start from just punching weed, and as you progress in the game you gain access to more and more advanced content of the game that will let you progressively make more and more money, and I respect that. Because it means I couldn't just open Bazaar to look for an item with high demand and relatively easy to obtain crafting recipe, so I can bail on everything to unlock that one single recipe and immediately start making more money than almost everything else in the game. Okay, so I did that for a couple hours, which made me a little bit money to start with. At first, I thought it was actually a decent amount, but I was yet to realize I couldn't be further from the truth. Well, I mean, it was well over what I needed to get enough mana to move around with the aspect of the end. In fact, I was able to achieve that with just a set of wise dragon armor for like 2 mil, which not only gives you a decent amount of intelligence, but also reduces the mana cost of the abilities, which is like all I ever needed. But since all I had to do was crafting items which didn't require it from me to move anyway, I thought ahead and already prepared myself for the stage 2 of my plan. Probably the most difficult and simultaneously inevitable stage. Acquiring skills. So there are a total of 8, the most important skills, and if you play Skyblock you probably have noticed how long it takes to level up all of them. Probably twice as much to do that without legs. I don't think I have to explain that I didn't have even a fraction of that time, and even though I had a few ideas to significantly speed up the process, in that case that doesn't really help me. Besides, I would have to find a way to save literally hundreds of hours of work, and I can't even start to imagine what I would have to do. Well, it was exactly what I had to do. Just don't. Okay, well, most of them at least. I mean, look, I know you may think skills are the most important thing because they give you all that permanent stat boost and everything, but trust me, I did the math. Do you know how long it takes to get farming 50? Do you know how insignificant 192 HP is while playing dungeons? Yeah. That's all you are getting. And same goes with fishing, mining, foraging, except probably even worse. Just to put that into perspective, leveling up your catacombs level 1, past like level 25 I think, will give you more of the stat boost than all of those skills at level 50 combined. Like, I'm not saying I'm not gonna do them ever, although it is the most likely outcome. I'm saying there are only 4 skills I should be actually worried about right now, starting with enchanting. A pretty useful skill that increases both my ability damage and intelligence, and the problem is the fastest way to level up this skill is to play a bunch of memory games that requires for me to use my actual brain power, which as a Skyblock player I long forgot how to use, but that wasn't a problem. I could just use solvers like for everything else. The real issue was how boring they were. So you can do them only 4 times per day and it quickly becomes like a homework, except even homework is probably better. I mean, at least you have some variety. Plus, a homework makes you wanna die only some of the times and not every single time. I was about to start this minigame, but honestly, that's fine. Luckily, as dumb this may look, the amount of XP you are getting from it is even more stupid, and not long after, the first skill was done. Next was alchemy, a skill probably even easier and more boring than enchanting. Basically, you brew potions. A lot of potions. And that's why I've come up with a brilliant idea to do the same thing I did on my main profile. I'm gonna build an auto brewer, which led to the shocking discovery that it's actually quite complicated to build things without legs, but after way longer than I would like to admit, I present you the auto brewer 2.0. What is the main improvement, you may ask? Well, it looks nicer. Basically everything else is the same. Up here is where you fill the water bottles, which then go through the system of 4 auto brewers powered by none other than the jury clock. And finally the ready potions go to the storage system, which leads to the single brewer, which is very important because it means I don't have to move in the process of collecting the potions, which was totally worth it, by the way, considering I also didn't have to move like 10 times more while constructing this, but overall I can't complain. And even though I had to spend like all my money onto the ingredients, all the XP I got from doing this I then used to level up a few pets, which then I sold for profit equal to the value, so you can say I did it for free. The second skill was done. I wish other skills were as easy as this. The real issue started with combat, probably the most useful skill, but at what cost? The idea is simple: kill mobs, get XP, do more damage, except do you see that zombie? I would have to kill it 18 million times for combat 60. Okay, well, there are faster ways to do it, but the thing is they require a combat skill to be quite high to begin with, and I probably would just work out my way there like any normal person, but then I remembered about a certain book with a list of everything I've killed so far, and if we could just not pay attention towards why do I keep a list of everything I've killed so far, it's going to be crucial in the process of leveling up my combat skill. So basically the way it works is that killing mobs upgrades your mob collection, upgrading your mob collection level ups your bestiary, and leveling up your bestiary gives you absolutely nothing. Until you reach milestone 18, and then it suddenly starts giving you like a million combat XP every second BCR milestone, which would have been like the best way to level up your combat skill if it only wasn't for the fact that to level up your bestiary once, you have to upgrade your mob collection 10 times. And yeah, at the beginning it takes like a few kills to do it, but that number rises quickly, until just a few upgrades later it's already hundreds of thousands of kills for just a single upgrade. So why am I even mentioning this? Because you see, there is more than one mob in Skyblock, and each mob has its own collection, which means that instead of focusing on killing one mob thousands of times, I can kill every single mob there is, only a few times. And by few I mean like 100 or something, but you get the point. And so I went on the journey around the Skyblock, visiting every place from the highest mountains to the deepest caves in a quest to kill every kind of mob I possibly could, from the casual zombies to an actual dragons, gaining experience with every kill, getting stronger with each collection, standing up against every challenge I stumbled upon, from the difficult fights to the hardest of the decisions. But I knew I couldn't show weakness. Not now. not as I was about to enter the dungeons. Which was way more anticlimactic than my willingness to make anything cool out of it. For movement I just used aspect of the end, and the 50 mil I had was way more than enough to buy a spirit scepter and a decent armor that would ultimately carry me up to the 6th floor. The most time consuming part was leveling up my catacomb skill to level 24, which I needed to get access to floor 7 and thus access to the strongest gear. To be fair, I got to this point with help of some random teammates, but I wouldn't say I got carried. There was times where I was carrying a full team of fully legged people, which probably would be enough to count that as a win over people with legs, and once for all prove that no matter how many odds may be stacked against you, your teammates never gonna help you. But I'm not done yet. There's just one more thing. And to bury all hopes and dreams of any leg supporters left out there, I will have to do it by myself. And just to be clear, no, it didn't become less impossible since the beginning of the video, and I still have no idea how am I going to do it. But one thing I know for sure. Do you remember how I said that 50 mil is nothing? Well, I can buy one talisman for... Okay, I used to be able to buy one talisman for it. And what is even more sad is that I'd be lying if I said that would make any significant progress towards getting ready to the fight. In my current condition, I'm gonna need like 1 billion coins, and even that may not be enough looking at the current inflation. And well, because I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight, in the meanwhile I started working on other projects, which as usual completely distracted me from my original goal and everything else in fact. And so months has passed and I did nothing towards the series. I mean, yeah, those videos may or may not lead to the temporary spike of the price of the certain items that I may or may not had an advantage to knew about in advance, which may or may not resulted in me making 100 million coins in a span of a few minutes, but that's only like 1/10 of what I needed. And it was when I realized I will have to actually play the game to make money, which got even harder when it came to me that I no longer can just flick a lever, which was the only way I was making money for past half a year. But one thing about making money on Hypixel is that there is a lot of ways to do it. What I don't like about almost all of them is that you're quickly gonna hit a ceiling of how much money a method can make, which more often than not means pretty much a sentence of 300 plus hours of making money to get to 1 billion. But there is a method with almost unlimited potential, arguably the simplest one to perform and yet the hardest to do successfully. So listen carefully, because what you want to do is to first buy materials and then craft items out of them. But there are 2 rules that I just made up that will dictate how much money each item will make. First, the more people need the item you are crafting, the more money you make. And second, the less people know about the item you are crafting, the more money you make. Also, people are lazy, so maybe the more complicated it is to craft the item and the harder it is to unlock the recipe, the more money you make. But if we agree we're gonna ignore the fact they are not even real, I'd say the first 2 are probably the most important. And while each point can act as a factor to drag the price up or down, usually we can make a decent money even if an item meets only one of the criteria at a high level. But the real magic happens when it meets all 3 of them. And let's just say I've been keeping my eyes on one particular item that I found on accident, and that's a true story. When one day, out of curiosity, I decided to add a few numbers and then compare the result to another number with a cell instantly tag on it. The difference was about 1000 coins, which doesn't seem special at all, until I timed how long it would take me to craft 8 stacks of that item. The answer was slightly above 30 seconds, so finally I multiplied 8 stacks by 1000 coins per item. Well, it's 500,000. Every half a minute. And I wish I could just tell you what is it, but that undoubtedly would mean a certain death of the method. And while usually I just don't care, well, this time I'm fully confident that by starting from nothing and under the right circumstances, I'd be able to make 1 billion coins in about 2 days. And just to visualize how much is 1 billion coins, well, it's a full month of actively making money, 10 hours a day with a relatively good money making method. Or for more casual gamers, it's 3 years of playing Skyblock, making on average 1 million coins every single day while spending nothing on the way. And meanwhile, I'm talking about 1 billion coins from absolutely nothing on the next day. I mean, I can't just destroy a method as good as this. Like a wise man once said, whatever you do, don't reveal all your techniques in a YouTube video. Not yet, at least. And with that being said, after several peculiarly long hours, I officially became the first ever billionaire that didn't have any legs. Also, just for the record, I have way more money than that in the bioverse that I didn't have enough willpower to utilize yet, and hopefully I won't have to when I will be done with my final task. Well, let's have some fun then, shall we? Am I taking this too far? Nah, I'm sure it's fine.